seltzer that Winnie created. So to get us started, Winnie, let's get some background on you. If you could let our audience know, what do you do for a living, how old you are, what's your marital status, just give them some background stats. And then if you could let us know what inspired you to create your brand.
Well, so I am a quality engineering manager. So I deal with anything that is product processes, manufacturing, and I work with engineerings, I work with purchasing, and the company that I work for is a company that is based out in Michigan, and my customer is up in Fond du Lac. So I help support my customer in Fond du Lac. Um, I am 33 years old. Um, and how I started Crazy Asian is really in my kitchen. I started off as like a brewer, making beer. And as I got older, I just can't drink beer like I used to. My stomach cannot handle it. And beer belly gut does not look good on a female. And that amount of beer that I was drinking, I was like, okay, I really got to change this. And I started playing around with some recipes, changing from fermenting grains to like sugar. And surprisingly, I actually had my seltzer well before White Claw even launched. So I,
Really?
yeah, so I've been playing around with the recipe for quite some time in my kitchen.
Wow. Interesting. So then what made you take it to the next level and say, you know what, I'm just not going to make this for myself. I'm going to actually manufacture and produce this.
I think it was mainly because I started seeing a lot of people gravitating to that no sugar, low carb type of drink. And I thought, well, it would be a great opportunity to why not dip into that small little market. And especially being a female, there's not a lot of females and a person of color being in brewery. It's a lot of it is dominated by white male. And so that was something that really got me wanting to be in that space and then also be locally as well, because a lot of the seltzers are very much corporate America, male dominant. Even small breweries are still a lot male dominant and white.
So then did you ever have any apprehension about being a woman of color in a male dominated space?
Yes, I was hesitant on it, because it was really intimidating. You know, it's like no different than being an engineer in a male dominant field as well. But I kind of feel like in the brewery industry, it's a little bit more difficult because I'm so introvert. And then now I have to be extrovert and talk to people and actually go to some of these breweries and ask for help for contract brewing. So that was really intimidating and walking in. And I'm only 4'8". So just imagine me going in there and I look like a kid and asking them like, oh, by the way, I have this recipe. Do you have any open capacity to brew my product?
Mm, that's interesting. So now you're at the point where you have to make connections with larger breweries to help you and yours to make sure that it's manufactured correctly. So I'm just wondering, like, what made you choose? You had a love for drinking beer, and you was like, I can't do that because my waistline.
Yeah.
But what made you choose seltzer instead of going like a wine route?
The reason why I went with the seltzer versus the wine is because seltzer is very similar to beer. And in the state of Wisconsin, in federal, they consider seltzer as malt beverage.
Mm.
So the process of getting a license to a malt beverage is a lot more easier than getting a license for a distill.
Mm.
And it's a lot cheaper too as far as taxes. Um, especially being a startup business, I was really looking for something that is going to be manageable, but also something that I would be enjoying to produce.
That's good. That's good. I'm also wondering about you talked a little bit about just being a woman of color and brewing. So where did that like love come from? Like not only do you like beer, but what made you want to get into like the science of it all, like the brewing of it all?
I think of it as like, with my background being an engineer, I'm so very much into processes and over analyzing on things, which is a good and a bad, because I can never produce a product the way I want it, where it's like it's perfect, but it's not perfect enough. And that's something I've learned in the business world, is it's never going to be, perfect, because you're never going to satisfy everybody, right? And that is something in my culture, you know, females aren't considered as good to be in an alcohol type of industry, because it looks like very bad in the Asian culture, because the Asian culture, a woman should be at home cleaning the house, saving face to the family, don't embarrass your parents. And if you are drinking, it looks like you're a party girl. So that's why I wanted to break away from that stereotype, and even for my Asian community, to allow other women to realize that it is okay to be able to step outside the culture and follow your dreams.
Yes, indeed. And not be defined by those stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you're inspiring other young Asian girls to be like, okay, well, I can do that too. Like she's doing it. Look at what I can do. Maybe I want to work in a brewery, or I want to learn more about the science behind it. So that's super cool. Can you explain to me and maybe to some of our listeners, because your girl is not a seltzer drinker. I don't know anything about it. So that's why we have you on here today, so we can learn about it. But what's the difference between like a beer and a seltzer, and why are seltzers like on a rise? I feel like now everybody has a brand of it.
Mm-hmm. So the difference between a beer and a seltzer is, beer is fermented grains, so like barley's, so it's not gluten free, and the type of yeast to ferment it is beer yeast. And with seltzers, it's fermented by cane sugar, and that turns into alcohol, which then makes it gluten free. So those are the two things, main key differences between a beer and a seltzer. And people gravitate to the seltzers, I believe, is due to everybody's trying to be healthier and living very natural, organic, watching what you eat, because, what you eat is what they say, what your body is. And a lot of people are just going towards that healthier beverage.
And by the way, I have had the seltzer. So when I went to meet up with Winnie, I had it in a mixed drink. And then I also had it by itself. So you can mix it, right? Or you can just drink it straight. And I was like, I'm going to drink it straight. I was like, this is good.
Okay.
I thought it was good mixed, but then she was like, well, I just want you to taste it like, in its raw form, nothing added, no additives, whatever. So I drank it that way. And I was like, I'll have another.
Wow.
It's really good. It's really good. And so, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself. So I'm going to stay in the same vein that Chanel is in. Did you feel any backlash from your community by going ahead and launching your seltzer, given
Um,
the stereotype?
yeah, I did a little bit. Like, so for example, more of the like the traditional Asian, I would say, like, that is very not Americanized. I would say that was a little bit very difficult. So for example, like when my dad was sharing my information to some of his friends and kind of getting the word out, because he was very proud of me. There was some backlash from some of those old school mentality of, oh, I didn't know your daughter drinks. And my dad was like, yeah, she drinks, but she has her stuff together.
Right. She's an engineer.
So yeah, so there was some backlash on it. And then there was also, you know, a little bit of even the name, you know, Crazy Asian, you know, sometimes that comes off in a negative way. And that's, in my culture, crazy really means passion and love. So there was a lot of like early on educating people of what that name really means.
That's good.
Interesting. Okay. So then, because I was wondering too if it was like a play on like Crazy Rich Asians.
That's what I thought too. When I came out with Crazy Asian, I was like, oh, Crazy Rich Asians.
Yes. Yeah.
Minus me not having the rich.
It's coming.
Not yet.
It's coming.
Speaking in existence. Not yet. Not there yet. I love that. So are both of your parents like in support of you? So I watch a lot of Top Chef, which is a disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the chefs that make it were like Asian American or like first generation, but their parents were like really old school, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
and their parents were not supportive of their choice to be chefs. So did, like Sherry Renee asked, like you felt that support from both of your parents were with it, like go to do this?
Yeah, both my parents were very supportive. In growing up, my dad has always said, if a guy could do it, you could do it. Aww. And the way that my parents came from, they came from a communist country. They came from Laos. And them coming here to the US really gave them that opportunity that I wouldn't even get to have that opportunity if I was born over there to do what I want to do. And my parents has always said early on that if a male could do it, you could do it, and just never give up on it.
Mm. No, that's really good to hear. And I'm wondering too, like how much of your background has given you the fortitude to even be in this male dominated space? Because, you know, obviously you were in quality at one point. Now you're a manager, you're an engineering manager. So you're surrounded by, as you said before, white males. And I'm sure that you have to advocate for yourself and speak up and be 4'8", you know, in a room full of people that are just towering over you. And I'm wondering, like, how were you able to use those situations to make you thrive in the space that you're in now with the Seltzer?
I think, especially with my career, as you said, Sherry, working in a male dominant field in engineering, I've learned how to understand who I'm talking to, like which male, and kind of see what their vibe is at, kind of be able to control the situation where it's, you know, if I know a guy that's like very dominant and belittling, sometimes I sometimes try to change my wording to not create that type of confrontation. So kind of understanding, you know, who they are, but then also I take that into the business world when I walk into big breweries and I'm looking for sales, I'm looking for contract. I've learned to walk in with confidence, because once you show that you're confident, the guys does not try to intimidate you because they know you're at their level, even though you're 4'8", but you're either smarter than them, but you got to try to outbeat them some sort of way.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're an engineer too, because you are very technical and very thorough. By the way, I've witnessed that myself. So when you walk in and you're telling them like, no, I need my batch made like this, or the recipe is like this, or it's to this, or it's to that, like you're giving them the quality limits and controls, like you know your stuff. Like you're not just showing up telling them I want it to be changed. You're telling them why. You're telling them this is the specification that I outlined. You're out of bounds. You know, like that is amazing, which is why I think it's so good. You know what I mean? Because Winnie is a perfectionist. She is, you know, being in quality and in engineering. You know, I think that those traits show heavily in her product because she definitely strives to make it the best that it can be. she's gonna say that it's not perfect because that's who she is. But I was sold. I'm
Okay.
like, let me know when you're gonna sell this, to normal customers because I have, and I mean, and mind you, I don't like drink and I'm not even a big drinker, right? I don't really drink seltzer. I will drink wine, but when I had the seltzer, I was like, I'll drink this straight.
Mm,
Like I don't need the extras. I will drink this straight.
yeah.
So it's a winner in my book.
Well, thanks, Sherry.
Yes.
Absolutely.
On my list. I gotta try it now because I'm like, this is exciting. Like, I've never met somebody who just jumped out on a limb and was like, I'm gonna do this. Like, I'm gonna start this brewery. Not many women do it. Not many women of color do something like this, but I'm going to do it because I believe in it and it's my passion. So it sounded like it started off as like a hobby. Like you would just make some beer, ferment beer, and this hobby turned into something that's gonna be huge. So that's really exciting. Which makes me think, like going into the interview, when you decided to turn it from a hobby to like a business per se, like what was your mindset? Like what were you thinking about?
I was really thinking about just having fun. And somebody told me that has started a business, has said, Winnie, have fun with it. Don't think about the numbers, just enjoy the journey. And I think that really helped me out tremendously, not having to worry about, am I hitting these numbers? Am I going to be expanding X amount? And am I making all this money? And I think that's what gets me going in this journey of the crazy Asian, is because I love it. I'm enjoying it. And I'm not trying to put too much pressure on myself, but I'm also thinking really with my brain versus my emotion. And I've caught myself many times where I think with my emotions and I'm doubting myself, wondering, am I really succeeding? Because, like in business, when you start up something, there's that perception of, are you making X amount of dollar? That's the accomplishment. And that accomplishment isn't really where I'm at because I'm still in this journey, but I know that one day I'll get there.
You are enjoying the process.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then what are some affirmations or like what do you tell yourself when you find yourself um, doubting yourself and wondering, should I continue? Should I keep going? Why am I doing this? Like what do you actually tell yourself to push through that?
Um, One is I look back on where I started and where I'm at now. And I look at the journey of me starting it, how difficult it was, of sleepless nights, um, worrying about, the financial part of it, of, is this even going to, even though I said not to worry about it in the last part, but there's still some part of worrying, right? And there was a little bit of that. And then just the perception of other people thinking what they think of the brand. And so I remind myself that if I didn't take that leap, I would have not known the positivity that I've gotten in the feedback, but then also learn about myself too, of when you're up against the wall and you need to find a new brewery, or you got to go out and do your own sales. So like, you're the owner, you're the salesperson, you're the brewmaster, you go to places and you get out of your comfort zone. And I've actually done that. And that's what I tell myself every morning, every single time when there's an obstacle where I'm like, I made it this far. I am not going backwards.
Yes, I love it. I made it this far. Look, I can't give up now. I've come too far. If I was gonna quit, I should have did that in year one.
Exactly.
Told me the road would be easy. Jesus.
Right.
Just
A
roll.
whole word right there. That's a whole word right there.
And something you said kind of stuck out to me too. Like you said, through this process, you've learned a lot about yourself. So what are some things that you learned about Winnie throughout this whole process? Thus,
Um, Talking to people. So I'm very introvert, and even being on here, I'm like nervous because I'm like, I feel like my English and I'm like trying to think, and I get nervous until I start to warm up. Like, I'm not the type where I will just walk to somebody, like a stranger, and be like, hi, and my name is Winnie. I'm the creative crazy Asian. I'm very much kind of like, it takes me a while to warm up to people. And in this, I've learned to kind of still learn how to talk to people. I guess I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's still a struggle. But it's a big learning curve that am very proud of myself of doing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely understand. It's difficult to, I think, to talk to people about your own baby, right? Because it's like it means so much to you. Are they going to receive it? Do they like it? Like, what do they think? So that makes me think of, how did you feel when the first brewery said yes?
Mm.
Oh my God. I was like, is this for real? Like, they're really going to give me a chance? Like, because I prayed for that chance. And it was the biggest, I would say, like, I felt so overwhelming blessed about it. And that journey is now that brewery, and I'm very thankful for them. But I'm now moving on to a different brewery to do a different chapter of the Crazy Asian. And I'm thankful for them to get me this far.
Oh, I love that. So a follow-up to that. So how many no's did you get before you got that one yes?
Oh my God. Let's just say I went to every brewery in Milwaukee. Like, I went to MKE, I went to Lakefront, and like when I went to Lakefront, I was like in the parking lot, and I saw these guys that were like outside smoking cigarettes, and I was like, oh my God, I'm like, this is gonna sound so weird. This is a second person after the first one I went to, so I'm like still haven't really warmed up yet. So I was like, all right, I'm ready here. I got out of the car, and I was like, excuse me, and they kind of looked at me like, hello, and I go, who do I talk to here? And like Lakefront's a huge place.
Yeah.
And I was like, who do I talk to do contract brewing? And what are the odds of that? Like, I ended up meeting one of the production manager who was out there smoking cigarette.
Wow.
And I remembered when that happened, I got back in the car and he gave me his like business card and everything. And I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, God, what are you trying to tell me here? I'm like, I guess I got to keep on going. So I just went to every place around the city and basically told them who I was. And there was moments where I felt like I was like stalking them in a way because they'd be behind like a tank and I'm like, hello, and nobody's there because they're not open.
I love it. I love it. And it's so funny because to our LA listeners, if you don't know anything about Milwaukee, we are the brewing town. Like, this is it. I mean,
Yeah, we're Brew City.
it's Brew City. Our sports team is the Brewers. Like, that's what we do. So to give you some context, like, Winnie talked to them all the Brewers. And she got that one yes to set her on her trail. That's what's up.
Yeah.
No, that's really exciting. So if people want to try your seltzer, where can they try it?
Okay, so when I mentioned about the next chapter, I'm planning on moving it to canning operation.
You are in a can.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
yeah.
Shut up. Really?
Yeah. So, once I have that in cans, I will have you guys try it and let me know what your thoughts are on it. But yeah, so right now I'm not on tap. I put a hold on the tap
Okay.
part of it because I want to move into canning. So I'm working on the canning portion of it. I can't give you guys too much details of what brewery I'm working with, and but I'm hoping by the summer of this year that I'll be able to be in grocery stores and send you guys some of my crazy Asian wild seltzer.
Yes.
Because I've always wanted to do, like, have you guys seen on the social media where like these celebrities or like friends, they put in a cute box and then you do an unboxing?
Yes.
Always want to do that.
Yes, send it to our studio.
It's so cool. And
Yes.
I have an old coworker, like they love seltzer. So they like will go through like all kinds and like give them ratings and have like these seltzer parties. So I'm so excited for you. That is awesome.
It's so amazing to hear you say that because I remember us talking about that being the vision. So it's really amazing to see that that's what you're actually up to right now. Like it's one thing to talk about something, it's another thing to do it. So I'm really proud of the journey. I enjoyed it when it was on tap, but I said as soon as you put this in the can, let me know.
Listen,
Let me
summer
know.
2022 about to be lit because yes, we Seltzer and we gonna be turning up. But I'm very excited about that. So launch party, let your girls know so we can support if we are in Milwaukee. But that's wonderful.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm very excited to let you guys know about it, and hopefully you'll be around in Milwaukee.
Yes, that is the goal. I
Yes. Oh my God.
love,
No, this is amazing. This is good to hear.
yes.
Wow.
Gosh, can't.
So then tell us some of the highs and lows. So you are still working full time
Yep, I'm
and you
still.
are and you have your business that you are building as well as a brand. So how do you manage to do both?
A lot of it is time management. It's something that with starting a business, I've learned over the years of what you call value added. What is value added? Where am I going to get the most output? And that's where I have navigated towards managing between, my 9 to 5 job and then doing my crazy Asian. And I try to make sure like I write down like action items, and I try not to like deviate from those because I do have a tendency sometimes where I'm working on it and then all of a sudden I'm like doing something else and I come back and then I'm like, oh my God, it's already 6 hours when I could have got the task done sooner if I just focus on it. So because I've been so busy with my new role, time management has been even more important with the crazy Asian and making sure that I'm being as productive and efficient as possible. And also because I'm like the only one person, I'm my salesperson, I'm my packager, I'm my social media.
Shut up. So you're doing it all by yourself. Like literally, like it's just you.
Right now it's just me. I did have a marketing manager who was like my best friend. She still is, and she's been working on a lot of the graphics. And she actually put my vision into the design. So, like when you see my crazy Asian with the bright colors, and then you see the love Thai Lao symbol, she put that all together for me. And same thing with my website, as well as the introduction on my website. She put that in for me as well. So I'm very grateful for her on that, and she's so good.
Mm.
Look, success is a team sport. So
Yes,
I'm glad that she's
Yep.
here to support you and help you out as much as she could. That is awesome. It's hard being a one-man show though.
I know, right? Because I'm like, wow, you the CEO, the CFO, marketing, advertising. Like you're literally
The engineer, because she's going to keep redesigning, right? You
Yeah.
have to be out here doing grassroots efforts in terms of building relationships.
this.
Now you got to learn how to can, right?
And now I got to learn how to can. That's for sure. Thanks for reminding me, Sherry.
I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I have some history in going out here and finding amazing suppliers to work
Yes,
with.
you
So if you
do.
need help,
For
There you
sure.
go. Link up, link up. I love it. So Winnie, do you have a family? Like are you in a relationship? Do you have children?
Yeah. So I am married, and I've been married for, oh, this sounds bad. I don't even remember how long I've been married for. Maybe 4 years. I don't even remember. I don't even remember my own anniversary. Don't let my husband know that, because I am terrible when it comes to anniversary. When we like the date we met, I'm just really bad at that.
I love it. So how do you balance it all? So not only are you this like super dope entrepreneur, you're also a super dope engineer at your 9 to 5, and you have a husband. How are you
Mhm.
juggling all of this?
Oh, it's very difficult. I would say my husband has been very, very patient. If he wasn't patient, I think it would be what I would call like not so great of a marriage because he knows I'm such a workaholic and I'm a very career driven woman. And he knew that when we got married. And he's been very, very supportive throughout the whole entire journey. And his nickname to me is Patience.
Love it. I love that.
That's
He
very
might say
sweet.
otherwise about me. I mean, that's why he's like crazy Asian. There's crazy for a reason.
Yes.
But when you start making crazy money,
There we go.
Exactly.
Because it is coming. These cans and summertime in Milwaukee, like you have it timed out perfect.
perfectly.
Hand in hand.
Yes, absolutely. No, I love it. I love it. Actually, I'll ask you this off air because I something just came to mind. But yeah, so you are married, you are a manager in your current role, but you also are very family oriented. Winnie is very family oriented. She adores her niece. She talks about her all the time,
Mhm.
very close. So family means a lot to her. So how do you I know you said you do a lot of time management, but how do you make sure that you are still present for your family?
That's good.
Oh, so my niece, she's a big girl now. She's 10. She's no longer a baby. And I call it preteen. So like she has a cell phone and I said to my sister, I'm like, she's so spoiled, but I'm like, I can't help to not want to spoil her because she's on my phone plan and for the rest of her life she's probably never going to have to pay for a cell phone because the family plan's a lot cheaper. And I was like, this little girl, she has it made. Like, that's how much I love her. And we do a lot of FaceTime because she's 10. Auntie isn't as cool as she used to be, so she's kind of like, I'll ask her like, Ariana, I'm going to FaceTime you, I'll text her. She'll be like, Auntie, I'm with my friends. I'm like, oh, it's preteen already.
Dagger. That's the dagger.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not your best friend. What do you mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Or she's like doing homework and I don't even know she's doing homework. She'll like text back and be like, Auntie, I'm doing homework. And that's her way of like, stop texting me.
Right. That is so
Oh,
funny.
kids, gotta love them. That.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta love them. So, what would you say was one of the biggest struggles in terms of trying to get your seltzer launched?
Mm.
I think the biggest struggle in there's two. So like the first phase and the second phase. So the first phase with launching it, I would say trying to get the quality control together and figuring out how does it pour out of the tap, because from the tap beer pours differently than a seltzer, because seltzer already is fully carbonated, so if you put too much CO2 in there it just comes out as foam. And not every bars and restaurants have the same type of tap lines. So, and some, could be running 10 feet, 20 feet down to the basement. And then some is just right behind the wall where you hook up the keg. And it runs a lot smoother because the tube is shorter.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think that was the biggest struggle, because trying to make sure the quality control and every customer is able to pour nicely, because if they don't pour as nicely, my customer then loses money because it's all foam. So I think that was a hard part. And then the second phase with me going into this canning, I think the biggest struggle is trying to figure out what are the requirements, permits that's needed to get into canning. That is something that I'm still working through with our state, which I'm very thankful for a lady that I met that works for the state, and she's a sweetheart, because there's no way I would be able to navigate it on my own. It was like God sent. It took me 2 to 3 months trying to figure it out, and I just felt like there's no way I'm going to end up being able to do the canning. And then in addition to that, with rising prices, inflation, that's another big struggle that I am thinking about, is how do I still make sure that I'm not taking the cost and transferring it over to my customer, because of the cost of now brewing it is a lot more expensive than what it was last year.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, I mean, I would say that, a lot of your roles that you had kind of helped.
Yes. And
I mean, we
thankfully for
saved a
you.
lot of money together, Winnie. We saved lots of money. So,
okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say yes. You taught me a lot, Sherry, especially in the business purchasing side. Oh my God. Oh,
no, we
thank
did
you.
that together. Winnie and I worked on so many projects and we saved lots of money. So, I'm pretty confident that you know how to navigate that.
Okay.
Um, I'm wondering, how did COVID have any negative or positive impact on your
Um,
business?
I would say both. It had some positivity because, there wasn't really much, I would say, competition out there because the market was slowly, opening up. People were still trying to figure out, where they wanted to go, if they wanted to go back out to restaurants or bars. So there was a lot of positivity in that aspect. I mean, most people would probably be like, oh, that sounds negative because you're not getting as many customers. But it gave me an opportunity to figure out the market, even though it was not that high of customers. The bad part of it would be that I felt that I was limited on expanding on some of the options that would have been available pre-pandemic, such as, you know, free events that were happening, like beer gardens that I could have been involved in. Um, so that was a downfall with during the pandemic, is I couldn't take advantage of those great opportunities that they had pre-pandemic of being in those types of scenarios.
Interesting. No, that makes sense.
That's just a minor setback for a major comeback, because I feel like the world is opening up.
Mhm.
And with you launching the cans like in the summertime, like I feel like like I said, you're in a great spot right now, like having it happen the way it's happening, with the world opening back up the way it is. So I'm excited for you. So prior to this, when you were just on tap, where were you on tap? What were some places where you had the tap going?
So I was on BB's on North, which is like a pizza joint place. That's where Cherry had the crazy Asian, the tiki tangerine, and the
That
light
tiki
cherry.
tangerine.
Yes, she talks about it.
And that will be in cans. That's my first can launch.
Perfect.
So
Sign me up.
plenty of that.
I'll do a pre-order. Sign me up for that one.
I'll just give it to you.
No, I have to. I want to buy it because I want you to know that I mean it. So I have to buy it.
Okay.
The support is gonna be
Yes.
real.
Thank you.
Yes.
I had it there. Then I also had it at Jackson's Blue Ribbon. So we had like about 25 customers throughout Milwaukee and the surrounding areas.
25 bars. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is major, with a brand new like brew. Like that's
Isn't that crazy?
yeah.
First of all, in the brew city? Because they're
Right.
gonna be like, no, we have our brew. We know who's who here.
Mhm.
Right. So that's amazing that you were able to break into that space as an Asian woman and have a reach of 25. Like, that is crazy to me.
In the mindset too, like I could do this. You hear the comparison, like if you have a dream or a goal, like don't look at what everybody else is doing. Like there's hundreds of bread companies, or there's hundreds of like beer companies at this point, but you was still like, there's a lane for me and what I'm trying to do, and I'm gonna market myself and put myself out there, because like Sherry Renee said, like this is literally brew city. Like you have all types of beers and seltzers. So that's really dope that you first time out was like, I'm in 25 bars on tap.
Mm-hmm.
During a whole pandemic.
Girl,
Yes.
give yourself a pat on the back. Like that's
Like, that is crazy.
amazing. Amazing for you.
Thank you.
So I'm wondering, what do you feel that your purpose is?
Um, so I feel like two things for purposes. For me, my purpose is spiritually. I feel like what I'm doing is being able to give back and to be able to provide hope for other women of color out there. But also, like with the Crazy Asian, I want to be able to give back to the community. And that's really the real mission and goal that I have when my business does end up hitting big one day. Um, and then the next one is the purpose is really being able to support my family. So my dad and my mom, as I mentioned, there are immigrants that came from overseas to here, and I really want to take care of my family and be able to give back to my parents who worked very hard to give me the life that I have. And while they're still here and they are old, they're like in my dad's like 72 and my mom's going to be retiring at 62. I want to give them the life that I feel like they deserve to have, because growing up they've always worked. My parents never went on really vacation. um they'll, you know, this may sound weird, but like they would eat hard-boiled egg with soy sauce and rice every day just to make sure that all of the kids have clothes, shoes, and they sacrifice so much. So that's really the purpose that I have for me personally, is to be able to provide that.
Mm-hmm. First of all, I love your parents. Like hugs.
I know, right?
Woo, parents' love is something real. Like, yes, that is wonderful. And as you know, kids, we do want to give back to our parents because they've done so much for us and the sacrifices they've made. And wow, and you will. Crazy Asian wild seltzer is coming, honey. Like that.
Oh, I
That
hope so.
coming. Yes, it is coming. That's gonna be huge. Wow. I'm thinking about, because you talk a lot about your culture and your background. So can you quickly explain to us like what does the logo mean? You said your best friend kind of created it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it like what are the symbols? Like explain the logo if you all can see it. Show everybody.
Yeah. So that symbol there means love, and that is in Laos and Thai. So in my culture, like I said, crazy is love and passion. So I wanted to tie that back into with that symbol, but then also the color. So I actually have it up here too on my thing. And then so the color, oops. Yeah, so the color that's vibrant, these are colors that are in our like dresses, in our traditional clothes.
Oh, cool.
So I wanted something that was vibrant. And my friend, when she put that together, I kind of explained to her that I wanted to tie it back into my culture. But then also she asked me, well, what colors do you want? And I was like, I don't really know. And she was like, oh, do you guys have a traditional clothing that you guys wear that maybe we could pick the colors off of those? And that's how it came about, these colors.
That's ooh, and it's all legacy, because I feel like if you think about some of the brewers that we have in Milwaukee, like Miller, like this is family name, like it's rooted in like a familiar history for that company and those people that started that, which is really cool. Like I love the background story, and it makes it makes it personal for you, but then it makes it personal for your customers to be like, okay, I can vibe with this.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I want my customers to see. You know, when they're drinking it, I want them to know that if they're passionate, they have love. Well, guess what? That's what they're drinking. They're drinking that same drink, and hopefully they'll feel the love and they're loving too.
Yeah. And I think it does match the drink. Like the drink, the one that I had at least was very vibrant. Like it's very fitting to the logo, you know? So I'm glad that you took the time to be intentional about it. Yeah, like you didn't just throw something together, like it means something to you. You know, it's something that your customers can identify with and say, like, no, 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 that's not it. I want this one. You know. So that's really cool. So then keeping the conversation going as far as your culture and your history with your parents, tell us your story of how you even came over here and what were your parents' expectations for you, and how proud are they of you right now?
So like I was born here in Rockford, even though my mom said she conceived me in the Philippines underneath the coconut
Oh,
tree.
underneath a tree?
Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, she's like, you're a Filipino. You're not Laotian or Thai." And I'm like, whenever my mom tells that story during Christmas, I'm always like, "Oh, I don't even want to know." Like, you guys underneath the coconut tree, please. But so they came here, and then I was born in Rockford, but my sister came from overseas when she was only 7.
Mm,
And I remember growing up, my parents were trying to adjust to the American culture. So it was very difficult. And I remember my sister, the way she was brought up is very different from the way I was brought up, because my parents were still trying to transition to being Americanized. And I know my parents, to this day, they both have said very how proud they are of both me and my sister and the type of woman that we are. And I would say a lot of it is from my parents, my dad and my mom, of really pushing us, because being poor, education is the only way to get out of poverty. And even though I look back, I'm like, I didn't really fully understand why my parents were so strict on us, of you have to do good in school, you have to get certain grades, and you can't go out and hang out with some friends because you need to study in summertime. And it's because they don't want us to be poor. And now I look back, like I said, I'm kind of like, oh wow, it makes a lot of sense now. It was painful back then because I wanted to go to prom, I wanted to go to homecoming, I wanted to experience a lot of that American culture, and I didn't really get to do that.
mm, yeah, but you
Hmm.
get to now.
Yeah, right. Right. You can do all of those cool things now. Like, and I will say, you wasn't really missing it. I mean, it was alright.
Right. I'm like,
It was alright. But
well, I don't know, because I was like American poor, so I don't know if that. So who knows? Maybe we both missed out. I don't know.
right, seriously. But
So,
that makes me think about your sister, because I can only imagine that coming to a new country at 7 for her was like, what WTF? Because at 7, I feel like I remember a lot from being 7 years old.
yes.
Like, it's kind of like a where your mind is like really open, like you have past memories and you can imagine like the future. Like, wow, 7 is so. Are you and your sister really close?
Yes, we are very, very close. My sister's like, well, we got closer as we got older. When we were little, I would probably say we weren't that close because I would steal her clothes.
Me and my sister are 7 years apart too, so this sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like she definitely have like stories and things where she'll tell me, and to this day she'll like tease me, and she goes, "You're so lucky that I try to break every rule as possible to get away from the traditional strict culture, because you got it very easy." I was like, "Yeah, you're right." I'm like, thanks. That's why
Right.
you're my older sister.
Thanks,
Right. Thanks, sis.
right. Thanks, parents.
No, that's awesome. So then, what kind of legacy do you plan to leave? Is assuming that Crazy Asian Wild Seltzer just really picks up and does everything that you want it to do. What do you want your legacy to be?
um, that is a really good question, because I really haven't thought that far. Um, what I would want to leave behind. I think, um, if I'm thinking like just right now, just on top of my head, I would probably be more of wanting to let people know the story. Like, when you start a business, people think it's all beautiful. I mean, who goes on social media and be like, oh yeah, I have a bad day, things happen, and we all want to post things that are positive, right? So everybody sees like, oh wow, you're succeeding, this business is doing great, but they don't really see the behind the scenes, the hard sweat, tears that is involved in it. And I think that's where, with the crazy Asian one day, what I want to leave behind is that you could always do, as long as if you pick up yourself and keep going, you could accomplish anything. And surrounding yourself with good, strong people really helps. Like both of you, me meeting both of you has been incredible, because it's been one of those things where I feel like needs a lot more females out there that are like that is very much willing to talk and discuss and motivate each other and uplift each other. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what this platform is for.
Yes.
That's what this platform is for.
That is why we are here. This is good. I'm so excited for you. I cannot wait to try. I cannot wait for summer, because like I said, that summer, seltzer, and brats, that's hand in hand. Like that's Milwaukee to me. Like that sounds like Milwaukee. It feels like Milwaukee. It's gonna smell like Milwaukee. So I'm excited for you and what's to come.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And when you were talking about the brand name, I thought of with you guys, Brunch with Besties. What a great name, because you both are besties. And then I like how you both are just so compliment each other. I want to be your best friend.
Look, and that's exactly what we want. We want it to just feel like best friends talking, right? We want whoever is on the platform with us to just, don't have the pressure and just feel like I'm just talking to my girlfriends, right? Like we're just chit chatting. That's it.
Yes.
So no, this has been great. And I agree with Chanel. I think this is going to do amazing. Please let me know the day that your product is canned so I can go buy it. That's going to be awesome.
For sure. I will let you guys know the first people.
Yes. I want to be the first one to purchase.
Okay.
I will do a pre-order.
There we go.
Yeah, you're my first pre-order.
Yes, I will do a pre-order.
Yes.
There we go.
I am winning.
No, but you know what? Honestly, though, I am really proud of the development, right? Because obviously you had to put yourself, first of all, you had to keep doing your own batches, right? Then you decided to outsource and do contract brewery. Then you moved to a different brewery, right? Then you were on tap. And now you're saying, I'm going to can. Like, how amazing is that for you to really own your brand, right? To the point where you're like, I'm not just going to sit here and keep doing the same thing and getting the same result. I'm going to try everything and figure out which one is my lane. Like I'm going to do it all. I'm going to try it all. I'm going to anything that's possible. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to master it. And I think that your skill set really lends well to what you do, quality and engineering. I mean, you're going to be untouchable. Like I would hate to compete with you.
Oh, that's so sweet of you to say. I got to practice my social skills.
It's okay. Look, it's okay. Look, you have to focus on what you are good at. And I think you have perfectly fine social skills. You and I, like, I don't know if it was the first day you started work or the second day, but I feel like we connected immediately. So I don't think that there is a problem with social skills. I think that when people really get to see your heart, they love you.
Exactly.
You know?
Because I don't see it at all either. I'm just like, yeah, I could kick it with you. And
yes, we have a great time every time we hang out.
Yes,
indeed. And let the seltzer speak for itself. You don't have to do all the talking. I'm going to just show you my product.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. And eventually you can hire somebody to go out there and do all that. Look.
Yeah. By that time, we're all going to go on vacation together to celebrate.
Yes, and drink our seltzer on the yacht. Okay.
Receive it. I'm just saying. Here, it was out there now. So now, world stuff. Do what you
got to happen. No, this is awesome. This is amazing. So what are we going to take away from this amazing conversation? I'll start with you, bestie.
Yes. This was really good, fun. definitely a different spin on purpose and healing and just going out and doing something for you as a woman. I could totally respect that, and being this force in a industry that's not, made for you. In all honesty, like being a woman of color and just saying, I'm gonna do this. I have the support of my family. I have the support of my husband. Like, I'm gonna make this work. But what I think I'm taking away is just, with us also being in an industry of podcasting, but not focusing so much on, what the numbers and all that stuff, but just making sure that I'm having fun. And I think the more we continue to do these episodes where it doesn't feel like work, it just feels like, okay, I'm going to hang out with my best friend. We meeting somebody new and we're going to talk to this person. I think once I keep that mindset in my head, like, it does make Mondays fun. It makes doing this podcast fun. So I'm going to take a little of that part of Winnie with me just to continue to have fun.
Awesome. And Winnie, what are you going to take away?
I think what I'm going to take away is the fact that just being able to just be natural and not be so self-critiquing myself. That's something am taking away from both of you, that, your vibe, your the way that you communicate is helpful, and it just makes it a lot more funner. And I almost want to be like, I'm just going to invite myself to your podcast again.
You should. You absolutely should.
So I can just do another redo.
Yeah, when you drop those cans.
Yeah.
Let us know when you are ready to can.
Yes, and hopefully we can have you in the studio after all these.
Yeah, and then we can taste. Yes, let's be in the studio and we'll taste.
Yes, come on back. We got
That'll be awesome. Yes. You know what I'm going to take away from you, Winnie, is to dare to be different, because you could really have stopped. You could have said, you know what, these guys are taller than me. This is a white male dominated world. There's so many breweries here. I don't fit. I don't belong. I shouldn't be here. Like, you could have literally talked yourself out of this, but you said, I love doing this and I'm going to keep doing it. And if it doesn't work, if this person tells me no, I'm going to ask somebody else, and I'm going to keep getting those no's until one turns into a yes. And I'm not going to just stop there and settle for that win. I'm going to go further and I'm going to get on tap. You know what I mean? And then, you know what? Tap was fun. That was cool. I learned what I learned. I improved. I took everything that I could. And now I'm going to expand further and do distribution. I'm going to get in stores. I'm going to can. I think that my takeaway is to not settle for less, not settle for what people are willing to offer you, but to strive to do what you know you can do. Like, when it comes down to it, you are an engineer. You know what I mean? You know how to do this, whether people want to accept it or not. Right? Whether people want to hear it or not, this is what you do naturally. So I think it's about just owning your space, taking up space, being who you are, and being that force, and just really like seeing your own worth. I think that's what I'm taking away, is just recognizing yourself and being like, you know what, here I am. If you don't want to see me, that's fine. I'm going to keep going until somebody sees me. Because if you don't see me, then maybe this isn't the right relationship. You shouldn't be brewing my recipe if you don't get it. I want somebody who gets it and who's going to put in the same care, the same effort, the same quality controls that I would put in. So I think that's what this episode, I feel empowered.
Indeed, I agree.
I'm great. Like, let me step my game up. I don't know what I'm gonna step my game up in, but I'm stepping my game up.
Listen, you stepped it up, but we'll talk about it after the show, Joe.
We all stepped it up.
We all stepped it up, and that's what it's about. And that's what it's about. And I think that that's what I really love about you as well, is that you don't just settle for bringing yourself up, but you try to bring up your entire community. When you always send me a link, like, there's this grant, there's this. Did you see this thing at Alverno? If she has a resource or if she sees something, she goes out of her way to make sure that she shares it. She wants all women to be empowered and to be inspired and to level up.
I love it.
That's what I love about you.
Thank you. I forgot about it. I'm glad you have good memories.
I don't forget.
For that. I'm like, the grants? Oh, yes, I did send you that.
I have an impeccable memory. If I have nothing else, I have an impeccable memory.
I know you do.
It's all I sometimes it's all I have. Okay. But
I love it.
awesome, ladies. Well, Winnie, stay on the line.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in to Brunch with Besties podcast. Until next time, peace.